Auralise and the Search for Aquarrion. Chapter 1. The Wind and the Whisper. Auralise wasn't like other 10-year-old girls in her village by the sea. With her wild red hair and curiosity, she spent all of her time exploring tidal pools and collecting shells. Her grandma T often said, "That girl has salt water in her veins." And maybe she did. Her grandma always sang her a soft melody that put her to sleep. One night she whispered tales of an ancient city called Aquarion and of Turtle Island, an island that held secrets to its location. "Find the island," her grandmother said with a wink, "and follow its call to the sea's deepest secret. Although, you must be warned, pirates also hunted its secrets." Most believed it was a sailor's legend, or at least believed otherwise. One misty morning, while searching for starfish among the rocks, Auralise picked up a shell shaped like a spiral. As she picked it up, the shell pulsed warmly in her hand, and she heard a soft, whispered voice coming from the shell. It said, "The spiral shell chose you. The hidden underwater city of Aquarion is in great danger." "What kind of danger?" Auralise said. "A serpent they call Abyssarum. It is a creature of legend, an ancient serpent made of shadow and teeth that has crossed the borders of Aquarion and has stolen the glass heart stone that they desperately need back. The spiral shell brought you here because only a surface-born can retrieve the glass heart stone by humming a melody to put the nasty serpent to sleep." Auralise wasn't sure why a magic shell would choose her, a girl who got seasick on ferries, but she didn't want to see Aquarion in danger, so she agreed to help. Just then, everything changed. The mist rolled in, and the tide rushed up towards her. A ship drifted in from the sea, and Auralise climbed in just in time before the water washed her out to sea. Auralise knew enough about sailing from Grandma T to hoist the sail and steer away from the reef. With masts creaking, the ship cut across the endless blue ocean. Her eyes scanned the horizon for her destiny, an island shaped like a turtle. As she stood at the bow of the ship with sea spray on her cheeks, she squinted at the horizon through her brass telescope. She had no idea where she was heading. The only map on board had drawings of mysterious symbols and riddles only half deciphered. Chapter 2. A Trap at Sea. For days she braved storms and stared at the stars, guiding her ship by moonlight. On day 4 the sea turned strange. The waves grew choppy, and she spotted the silhouette of a black flag on a huge ship that waved in the distance. As the ship drew near, 3 men from the ship, appearing friendly, climbed aboard. Auralise was so excited to finally meet other people, she told them about treasures and the hidden undersea city that needed help. "Treasure, you say? Little girls can't save anyone, and they certainly don't belong on treasure hunts," the one man sneered. Realizing they were the pirates that her grandmother warned her of, she quickly stuffed her map into her pocket. The men brought her to their ship, where they tied her to the mast. Auralise, fearless as ever, waited until the pirates' bellies were full of rum and roasted fish, and they fell asleep. That night, with only moonlight shining on the deck, she was able to loosen the knots and tiptoed through the grates. She stumbled across an open one with scuba gear packed and ready. She slipped into the gear and dove into the moonlit sea. Of course, since Auralise had salt water in her veins, the water welcomed her like an old friend. Down she sank, bubbles rising like tiny stars. Strange and beautiful glowing jellyfish lit up the dark waters. Chapter 3. Beneath the Blue. Beneath the waves, swimming towards her, was a sea turtle with twinkling, kind eyes. "Where are you heading?" it said. "I'm looking for Turtle Island." With a chuckle, the turtle said, "Well, I just so happen to know exactly where it is. Climb on." Without fear, she reached out and climbed onto its shell. The turtle swam for hours, deeper into the unknown, passing schools of silver fish and the glowing jellyfish that lit up the deep, dark depths. Finally, just as the sun was rising, she rose to the surface. Not far off, an island covered in lush jungle and ringed with golden sand appeared. She found Turtle Island, the legendary island on the back of a giant turtle shell. And hidden there, according to her grandmother, was an ancient map to the hidden city of Aquarion. Chapter 4 Jungle Secrets. The jungle was thick and wild. Mist hung in the air, and vines that crept like snakes draped the mango trees. Turtle Island was alive with sounds, birds chattering, leaves rustling, and somewhere something was humming. Continuing along the shore, not knowing which way to go, Auralise came upon creatures unlike anything she'd ever seen. In fear and shock of seeing a human, the taller one let out a roar. Auralise stepped closer, fearless. "You're not scary," she said. "Maybe you're just hungry." Auralise offered them a mango that she had picked earlier. The mossy beasts blinked and smiled. "Friends?" she asked. The monster grunted, "Runs." "Can you help me? I'm looking for a map and clues to the sunken city of Aquarion." Mossrin, the taller moss creature, agreed to help. Chapter 5 The Mushroom Riddles. They walked the beach, and she found an odd dress made of seaweed that had washed ashore. Thinking to herself, "This has to be more comfy than a scuba suit," she slipped into her new cool attire. Together they explored ancient ruins and followed strange markings. Deep in the jungle, giant mushrooms pulsed and hummed with cryptic words when she came near them. Mossrin helped her solve the messages on the mushrooms. "Oh my! Guess what, Mossrin? They're sailing coordinates!" This is just what she needed to complete her map, but how will she ever find Aquarion without a ship? They made their way out of the jungle to the beach, where they found a chest beneath a tree. Inside the chest, she found a map and an old key. She grabbed the key, the map, and her deciphered coordinates, and placed them inside her pocket, along with a map from the ship that she had brought with her. Chapter 6 The Sea Cave. Following the map, she found that it was leading them to a cliffside cave. Inside was a rusty red, long abandoned, but still functional submarine. She waved goodbye to Mossrin as she climbed into the clunky, cold steel sub. While she waited for the tide to rise, she realized that her mushroom coordinates were the missing pieces to the map that she brought with her from the ship. The tide rose high above the sub. "Up, periscope!" Eager, Auralise inserted the key, and with a rumble and hiss it came to life. With a hollow hum and a bubble, it sank into the deep. Auralise followed her new coordinates into the deep sea. Chapter 7 Down, Down into the Deep Blue. Magical glowing jellyfish lit her way like floating lanterns. Beneath the waves, the submarine glided downward, past whale pods, reefs, and shipwrecks. Schools of silverfish danced close to the porthole windows. As the sub glided through the depths, appearing before her, she came upon what looked like a huge, swirling seashell vortex whirlpool. She could feel the current pull her towards it. She could no longer steer away. The vortex was pulling her submarine into it. Swirling fast and furious, the sub was cast out of the whirlpool, and before her eyes, Aquarion rose like a dream from the sea floor. Through a curtain of sea mist, opulent, transparent, glass-domed palaces shimmered with light. Mermaids with shining tails guarded the entrance to greet her, their voices like wind chimes in the currents. Auralise glided her submarine into the city of Aquarion. As she stared in amazement at the magical land before her, a sea wizard in a robe of seaweed and stars approached the submarine. "Are you the surface-born that has come to help Aquarion?" he asked. With bewildered eyes, Auralise nodded. The sea wizard Marlin opened the sub-hatch. Holding her breath, Auralise floated upward, bubbles swirling around her. "You are brave," he said, "but to stay you must change." With a thump of his staff and a flash of golden bubbles, her legs shimmered as her legs turned into a mermaid tail. Excited, she flipped her tail like she had always known how, and to her amazement she could now breathe and swim underwater. Marlin told Auralise of how she needed to recover the stolen glass heart that radiated empathy, love, and peace from the serpent that lived in Coral Canyon. Aquarion needed the glass heart to bring peace and love back to the inhabitants of the land. In order to retrieve it, the serpent needs to be lulled to sleep, and only surface-born know the melody. Chapter 8: The Sleeping Serpent. Auralise was told to follow the jellyfish lanterns into the Coral Canyon. It was a very far-away place, so she climbed aboard a jellymobile and floated away with the other jellies towards Coral Canyon. She spotted the fierce serpent and quietly hid behind coral in search of a shell. She found the perfect one, so she started humming the lullaby her grandmother once sang to her through the shell. Clear, hypnotic notes rang through the water. The melody wrapped around Abyssarum like a blanket, slowing its rage and softening its eyes. With a final breath, its body curled into a ball, lulled into a long, deep sleep. Auralise quickly picked up the glass heart stone and headed back to Aquarrion. Phew, she was glad that was over. As she arrived back at Aquarrion, many sea fish and others greeted and cheered upon her return. The high priestess, Cora, of Aquarrion, awarded Auralise a crown of coral and named her Daughter of the Deep. The magical sea crown was placed upon her head. Chapter 9: The Choice. With a grateful heart, Marlin, the sea wizard, offered her a choice: stay forever beneath the sea, or return to the surface with knowledge and the beginnings of a new legend. Auralise looked out across Aquarion, the city that sparkled with magic and mystery. "I'll return one day, but now I must return to Grandma," she said. "I belong up there," she said, pointing to the shimmering surface above, "but I'll never forget this place." "If ever the sea needs you again, a seashell will call you back," whispered Cora. With that, a shellmobile, more beautiful than anything she could imagine, came to pick her up. She waved goodbye, and the sea returned her gently to the surface and magically glided her back to the shore. The next day when Auralise woke, her grandmother asked her where she had been. She laughed to herself and whispered in Grandma's ear, "On a ship, in a storm, and in a dream too big to stay on land." No one else believed her story, though, of course, but Auralise didn't mind. She still walked the beach every day, watching the waves, searching the tidal pools, and waiting for the day when the sea would call her home once more.